No.
Now, tell us a little bit more about your second child, is it Mason?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I suppose up until that point, I'd grown up in the fellowship and I'd never really had a need that I had to really call upon the Lord. And I was 9 weeks pregnant with my second child, and I came down with it. I don't suffer from morning sickness, fortunately, but came down with a bit of a bad vomiting bug, and went to the doctors for a bit of a routine blood test. And he called me back, and I didn't think more of it, that he was just going to say the all clear. And when I sat down, he indicated, because of the virus that I had caught, that my son was actually deaf, that the baby's hearing wouldn't have been formed correctly because of that, the timing and the development, and also that he would be severely deformed. So at 9 weeks of pregnancy, I was, this was placed on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What happened from then?
I went for an amniocentesis to determine the amount of virus that had affected the baby, and the baby had been severely affected. I was sat down by a specialist who spoke about the impact it would have on my marriage, on my other child. Although they couldn't determine the degree that the baby had been affected, the baby seemed to be forming correctly, but the chances were that he was profoundly deaf, and they really recommended terminating the pregnancy. And I knew with the amniocentesis that there was a likelihood that I might lose this little one. And I remember walking away from the specialist thinking, I just had this amazing feeling of peace, and I was so at peace. I think one of the nurses, one that touched me, and she said, "You realise the gravity of what's happening," and I knew how serious it was, but that peace that passes all understanding. Even though these specialists and I had such respect and all for them, I just knew my God was going to bless this child, and even if whatever the outcome was, if I just knew the Lord knew the beginning from the end. And so we proceeded with the pregnancy, and I went and had my little one, and as soon as he was born, he was whisked away for brain scans and blood tests and hearing tests. And the specialist came in and sat on the edge of my bed, and I'm holding my little baby, and he said, "Well, I don't know what to tell you, but the blood test has shown that this baby has that the virus is in this baby's body, but he is completely well. There is not one. He's just a perfectly formed, beautiful baby." And I sat there, and tears at that time anyway, but just it's amazing, just really
Wonderful.
Amazing. Yeah.
What a great testimony.
Absolutely.
Now, you're a teacher?
I am a teacher.
Okay, and you've had the opportunity to go overseas, and it sounds like you're going over
Yeah.
again soon.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your last trip.
I'm a Year 1 teacher actually, and love teaching, and last year I was approached about doing a bit of a teacher exchange and going over to Jakarta and in Indonesia, and I'd never travelled before or done anything like this, and although very passionate about teaching, they wanted me to go into quite a very sad area, a lot of poverty in this particular area. A lot of teachers are not trained, and wanted me to just basically teach the teachers and work with the teachers. And I remember driving into this school, and the smell was really quite challenging initially as I drove in. And I remember going into the classes, and it was just amazing. The Lord just gave me this amazing peace, and I was able to work with many people. And although a predominantly Muslim country, I spoke, even though I had an interpreter with me the whole time, I spoke of my love and faith in God. And there was one little boy on one particular day, he asked me, I could tell that he had a fully formed second thumb on his left hand. And as he held out his hands, the thumb fell beneath the hand. And he asked me to teach him how to count to 10. So there I am teaching him. And he said, no, 11. And I'd been speaking to this little boy and his family about my love of God and the gift that God, in very broken English. And he held it up, and he said, he held both my hands and he put them on my chest, and he said, "Your gift of God is here, but mine is here." And it was at that point, having been confronted with a child that could possibly have had a disability of some kind, it was then that I realised that God is so great, and His plan, although sometimes we have everything so well defined and so ordered, that God is so much greater. And this child, he truly saw this. And at that point I said, I wish I had that thumb. And I truly meant that at the moment. I truly was just overwhelmed. And it was amazing how that I'm returning in October again to work in this school. And just even in the midst, and there was the language barrier and everything, that God is so much greater. And really felt very honoured to be there.
That's a wonderful testimony. It's
Thank
really
you.
nice to share it with us, so thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
for
being
having
on
me.
the couch.
You're wonderful.
No worries.